Hail, viewers. Tonight, or rather today, I would like to talk about an old RPG that I played when I was peradventure, 10, 11? I'm not really sure what age it was. But basically I was very young when I had played Legend of the Dragoon. And I have to say that looking back on it, although when I played it when I was younger, I really liked this game. To me, this game was great. I had played Final Fantasy VII, and I do believe Final Fantasy VIII before I played Legend of the Dragoon. And it was a very interesting battle system in the game. There was a lot of dialogue. And I do hear today, now, something which I did not really hear before during the time I had played the game, which was apparently many people say the dialogue in Legend of the Dragoon was essentially very badly translated, alright? Essentially. The understanding is that the translators made some mistakes or they just did not do a good job. But for the most part, I have to say, in comparison to many other games such as Final Fantasy VII, 8, alright, especially in 8 where they did that little thing at the end of Final Fantasy 8 when you meet Artemisia, and she says her C's are replaced with K's. And I suppose the point was to, I guess, make her seem more harsh as a character, so to speak, or crazy, so to speak. But it really did not translate so well. But that was probably the only part of the game where we really had that much of a problem. And for the most part, the pronunciation was essentially the same, but you just had a K instead of a C. That was an interesting quirk about Final Fantasy VIII that some people know about. Now, off to talk about the script and dialogue aside, Legend of the Dragoon was very big. It was 4 discs. It was 4 discs of story. Very intense story. In my opinion, I would have to say, if I had a fault with this game, which is what this video is mainly going to be about, it is the story, but a certain aspect of the story. I think, personally, that Rose eclipses all of the characters in meaning and significance. And for those of you who do not know the story, essentially it is this. They have a creation story in this game. They say the creator, whose name is Soa, created humans and other races like giants and these characters, these entities called winglies. That they have wings, but they can essentially take the form. They can essentially make it seem like their bodies don't have wings and use magic or something to hide their wings, but essentially they have all these different humanoid races and dragons, and they have something called virages, which are essentially part of the creation, which are to destroy the world. And the idea is that the creator created the virages as the last type of entity to, essentially be the vessel for the god of destruction. So this is the idea, and there's a big tree, and it's like it's kind of a little spin on the whole Genesis creation story. I suppose it's set without Adam and Eve. Essentially, all of these creatures and entities come from fruits on the tree. Let me put it that way. So, what happens is that there's a war between the humans and winglies, because the winglies have essentially enslaved humans, and they had a dictatorship, and they had some character who what was it? They had a dictatorship, and the king of this dictatorship is named Melbuframa. He has a sister called Shaliframa, who apparently disagrees with how he rules. Alright, now, there's a big war between the humans and the Winglies, because the humans are enslaved, and they have an emperor called Emperor Diaz. The reason I have to go through the storyline a lot like this is because before I talk about Rose, and why Rose and her role in the story of Legend of the Dragoon is so strange and unsatisfying, and why the whole game, the whole storyline, the whole consummation of the story is unsatisfying. And it was unsatisfying for me to a degree that troubles me in the heart. Because remember, I played this when I was very young, and you have to invest a great deal of time to win these games. So when you come into a situation where you feel so, wow, I don't really, what is this story trying to teach me? Because here's what I mean to say. Basically, Zig, who's the main character's father, Zig is going to fight. He's going to fight Melbuframa. They're going to get in a duel, right? I think everybody else is basically dead. In other words, humans somehow found some way to take dragons, to take their souls off their bodies. Essentially, they're fighting Wolf the Dragons at one point, but at some point, they take these dragons and learn how to take their souls out and essentially empower themselves with the dragon spirits, the dragon souls, alright? So they carry them around as little stones, and they glow in all of this. So, what happens is that Zig fights, he essentially kills Melbuframa, but before Melbuframa dies, he also petrifies Zig into stone. So Zig he's basically a statue, and it takes a long time for him to essentially become, depetrify. His body, finally the spell wears off, and he's able to go and find some place. He has a family in a town or village or a city or wherever called Neet. There's this area called Neet in the game world that you can go to even now. I mean, in the game, while you're playing it. But anyhow, he goes to Neet. He travels around. He lives his life. He gets married to a wife named Claire. Now, Claire, she has her own history with another character called Heschel. Essentially, she is Heschel's daughter. Alright, so this character, Claire, she never really gets to say much other than what, you see in a cutscene. But basically, this is Squall's mother. Not Squall's mother. Oh my goodness, I'm thinking about Final Fantasy VIII. This is Dart's mother. Dart is our main character. So anyhow, Dart decides, after what happens is this. There's the Black Monster. The Black Monster comes every 108 years to destroy the Moonchild. The Moonchild is this. Basically, what has been happening is that there was some crystal spear that was destroyed during the fight between the Dragoons, who are basically what you call a human that's using the power of dragons as their spirit. They sort of make themselves a powerful weapon and wings and everything, and they're, it's a form that they can take to fight and to help them essentially fight the Winglies, who have wings and magic and all of this. So there's a crystal spear that holds the soul of the god of destruction, and basically Melbuframa was using this to gain power. And so somehow he separated the soul from the body of the god of destruction and was able to take the power and put it in his own body. This whole dynamic is basically what the whole story revolves around. Basically, the god of destruction is sealed into the moon. And so, the moon in this game is blue. Now, when what happens is every time the moon becomes red, the spirit of the god of destruction basically goes into a child, a baby. Okay? Now Rose, this character with the blue clothing, she's the black monster. In other words, Dart, his whole family was killed, or at least his mother, everybody he knows in this town called Neet, or if Neet is even a town. I mean, Neet is basically, I wonder if Neet's a town or city. What is Neet? Because did I close the wiki? Okay, I closed the wiki, but I can just talk about this offhand, honestly. Let me see. Here's what I'll do. I'll see if I can find the wiki page, because I want to get information correct, because it's a whole big thing. It's a game of 4 discs. Okay, and the reason I kind of say this with a good deal of annoyance is because I played through this game. I was very interested in it. I really liked it. But at some point, I started to think, wow, I've gotten this far into the story, and I'm feeling unsatisfied. I'm thinking, okay, Dart is looking for revenge against the black monster. The black monster turns out to be Rose. All of a sudden, any vengeance he had, it's gone. Oh, well, I forgive you. Basically, it's what happens. You have Heschel, whose daughter is Claire, the father of Dart. And so what happens is that Heschel kind of realizes that that Dart's mother is Claire. In other words, Heschel knows Dart. Because Dart's kind of a warrior. He's traveling. He's trying to find the black monster, and he meets Heschel for some reason. Heschel turns out to be his grandfather. But Heschel, for whatever reason, when he learns that all of this, okay, when he learns all of this, what do you think his reaction to the fact that, because he kind of learns this because Shauna, another character in the game, who is the childhood friend of Dart, is singing. And she's singing a lullaby that only Heschel knows, because his daughter Claire sung this lullaby. He learns that Claire was Dart's mother. Alright? It's because, you see, there's a lot of foreshadowing and different things. Not necessarily foreshadowing. There's a lot of connections between the characters, but this is never really is done in a satisfying way. None of these connections reach any type of satisfying conclusion. What I mean to say is, when Heschel learns the truth, he doesn't say, whoa, well, Rose killed my daughter. And I'm thinking, because you see, Dart and Heschel are basically, Dart is traveling to get revenge against the black monster, which he rightfully should. The black monster destroyed everybody in this town called Neet. And so Heschel, he's looking for his daughter. Heschel's looking for his daughter because he's thinking, where did she go? Basically, Heschel's a martial artist. He trains his daughter in the martial arts. He's teaching his daughter in a very strict fashion, and so his daughter, during a sparring match with another female partner who's training with her, she kills her by accident because her father's pushing him so hard. I believe his name is Heschel, the father. I'm not particularly sure because I haven't seen the name in a while. I could double check that too, actually. But anyhow, it's ridiculous how much lore I have to keep a track of. But basically, when Heschel learns about this, you would think there would be some type of resentment between characters. I'm thinking, wow, okay, Dart, later on in the game, you get to Disc 4 or something. And he finally learns, wait, Rose is the black monster. This person I've been trying to find like all of my life, for the most part, as I've been training as a warrior. And basically they have a little sparring match. They don't have a duel where you can kill this person in battle. in an audible fashion, which we kind of expected. Of course, Rose becomes a party member eventually because he saves your life against this big guy who you see with the axe. And she gives him a dragon spirit. Alright? And so they're pretty good. I mean, although she's very stern and weird, she's a pretty good ally for the most part. And for myself, I cannot really say too much bad about the translation of the game, because as far as I'm concerned, the translation of the game is fine in my opinion. I have no problem with it in terms of what it was for the time in the 90s. It was good in my opinion because I can understand it. I don't really have a problem with it. I had a problem with the story because it seemed like what Rose had done. Let me tell you what Rose does. After this big dragon war, after all of her friends die who were dragoons fighting winglies, and after Zeke gets petrified, she goes and talks to basically Charlie Frama, who is Melbu Frama's sister. And what Charlie Frama says is that, well, now that the spear is destroyed, the spirit of the god of destruction, every red moon, every 108 years, the god of destruction needs to find a baby to go into and to become the moon child. Basically, the baby, there's going to be a moon child and you have to find this moon child. So every 108 years, what you have to do, Rose, is go and commit genocide every 108 years against not only the moon child, but everyone in her vicinity. So in other words, if there's a town, if there's a village, in this case, this is called the Phantom Ship, this part of the game, because Rose came into the ship and basically killed everybody in search of the Moonchild. So Rose is a very evil character, and so what Charlie Frama says is that if you don't do this, this act of savagery, of pure genocide for the sake of good, which is, you think, okay, we have some moral ambiguity, we have some moral dilemmas. This is looking good, okay? Because we have this whole dynamic, but you expect consequences for a dynamic like that, all right? In other words, you expect, wait, when I play this game, at some point, Rose should receive some manner of consequences, and let me just spoil this for you now, because I've been spoiling everything as it is. This is for people who want to, basically who have played the game and already know what happens. You don't get any satisfaction for your original quest of finding the black monster and getting revenge, because of course they say it's necessary. And Rose, let me be honest, Rose, she barely expresses any regret. She never really says, I was wrong. She never says, basically for Rose, it's necessary. You have, she does this about, let me tell you, 108 times. Basically, it's been 11,000 years since the Dragon War, and there's been 108 or 107, I believe, moon children. So in the course of these, every 108 years, she'll just go and slay a whole town, village, whoever's in her way for her to get to this Moonchild. Because the idea is that if she doesn't kill everyone around the Moonchild, she will not be able to, what would it be said? She will not be able to, basically the idea is that if she doesn't do it, the people around her will become servants of the god of destruction. We never see this in the game, by the way. This is all very... It provides a lot of moral ambiguity and moral dilemmas. However, when you have a story like this, when you have so many characters connected, okay, Claire is one character's daughter, Claire is another character's mother, and you have this other character who's just committed all manner of genocides and will never receive any time. You don't get any satisfaction. Now you have to think of it like this. You as a player identify with the main character. So instead of having any type of, even if it's just a talk for Dart or one of the characters to come up to Rose and say, what you did, even if you thought it was right, it was still wrong. You're still a legitimately evil person. And even if it was just a talk and some regret that this character felt character development, some people may think Rose had character development, but all it is her opening up and sort of accepting what she did and becoming, and basically not continuing this, because now she's on the quest, because Zieg is now sort of what happened after the fight with Zieg and Melbuframa was this. Melbuframa's soul takes residence in the dragon spirit, which is a stone. Okay, so what happens is that once Zieg starts walking around and living his life and getting a wife and having a son, what happens is this. The black monster comes because guess what? The Moonchild is in the village, according to Rose. So what Zeke decides to do, and Claire, they say, hey Dart, stay here. You know, we have to, because of course Claire's trained in the martial arts from Heschel. And Zieg, not only is he good with a sword, but he also has the Dragoon spirit. He hasn't used it ever since the Dragon campaign, because he hasn't needed to. He didn't need to, but now he sees, wait, someone's attacking the village. And so you have to imagine, at this point, if he has seen who is attacking the village, he already knows it's Rose, without any doubt. So, you know, we know he didn't know why she was attacking the village, but he decides, I have to use this dragon spirit, become a dragoon to protect the village, because Rose has went crazy. You know, and there's a certain tension there, because Zieg is already married. He's married to Claire now. So there's something that could be done in the story about that. In other words, there's already this tension between the two characters, even though they don't really have any type of relationship other than the fact that we would imagine that Rose, she basically murders Claire along with everyone else in the village of Neet. Okay, and I really do wonder if it's a village. Is it a village or is it a whole city? But anyhow, Rose has killed so many people that you can't really even, it's no joke. I mean, okay, it's a village of Neet, so it's a village. But the fact is that she'll just go to villages and just, I mean, the imagery is like this, but this is because of a flashback. Basically, she's in her dragoon form when you see those pictures. So Zieg, he obviously knows who this is. Now, he knows what this woman did to everybody he knew in Neet, the life he had in Neet. He knows about that. He doesn't know anything about Charlie Frama telling Rose anything. So according to him, he has to fight Rose. So he uses the dragon spirit, but the problem is, Melbuframa's soul is in the dragon spirit. So when she's coming to Neet, or any place that she goes to, they call her the Black Monster because she has the Dark Dragoon spirit. And in other words, each Dragoon spirit is related to a dragon. She has the dark armor. You know, she used the black flames and all of this, the black magic, the dark magic and all of that. So everyone calls her the Black Monster, but she's basically just in a dragoon form, coming around like this. So Zieg already knows who he is. So Zieg is saying, okay, Rose wants to, and keep in mind, the reason there's tension, there's narrative tension that is unresolved between Rose and Claire. Claire only gets to speak a little while, and it's to Dart. And she goes into the village after Zieg. But when Melbuframa's spirit comes out of the dragon spirit, it possesses Zieg. So Zieg flees Neet. So basically Claire's left there in the village by herself, and of course we know who's there. Rose is there, the Black Monster. So Claire's gone. Everybody else is gone. You know, Rose is thorough. So she slays everybody there. So you only meet, basically Zieg only has a small part at the end of the game, a small part to play. So what happens is this. Zieg, I wonder if the music is playing, because I do have some music here. Okay, yeah, there is music playing in the background, good. Because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, people. So anyhow, excuse me while I blow my nose. Okay. So Zieg only plays a small part at the end of the game. And Zieg, what happens is that, the possession by Melbuthama ends. Okay, and so he kind of, he doesn't have any animosity towards Rose, because obviously at that time they have to join, they have to help each other, and it's like, oh hey, oh comrade, let's destroy the god of destruction. They fly into the moon and destroy the god. I mean, they're already in the moon, because I think you have to, your party has to go to the moon. But basically, Rose and Zieg destroy the god of destruction embryo, or whatever is left, to ensure the god of destruction never comes to be. But because now his body's destroyed, so the spirit, basically Melbuthama was using the soul of the god of destruction to gain power from it. It's a really dumb story, because you never get to fight the god of destruction. I mean, not really. And so all of this is about precaution, and it's a cowardly story. It's a cowardly story because essentially, you can't get revenge. You can't get revenge on the black monster. You can't fight the god of destruction. Rose is doing here's how the story literally says, literally portrays this. Charlie Frama, a Wingley, the Wingley brother of the Wingley sister of Melbuthama, who's the king or whatever of the Wingleys, who basically was the dictator who enslaved the humans and all of that. She tells Rose, she's, oh, you saved the world 107 times. You've done a good job, Rose. And all these Wingleys who know about Rose, they say, oh, you're on your tragic journey. It's so tragic for you, Rose. Rose had such a sad story. And I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, this is terrible writing. And I'm just thinking, they're literally trying to make us have sympathy for the devil. And let me put it this way. I think you can have characters like this in the game. There's no problem with it. I think that art should be freely expressed. However, if it is freely expressed, I think any art, it's free expression. I'm totally for anything being made, even a subject like this. Because this game has to do, what Rose is doing is terrible. It's infanticide, it's mass killing, it's evil. Okay? By any conventional sense, by any conventional standard, it's really evil. But in the game, it's necessary to prevent the god of destruction. We can't let the god of destruction come to be, because we can't fight him. We can't beat him. We're too weak. And I'm thinking, you're fighting dragons. You're fighting these creatures called Virages. Virages were these types of entities connected to the god of destruction that come from the 108th fruit of this tree of creation. All right. So the point here is that Rose basically kills the Moonchild every 108 years. Every 108 years she does it. Because obviously with the fruit, the creator made 108 fruit for all of these different beings. Okay, that's the whole idea. So there's a lot of, not necessarily even symbolism behind it, but just there was a lot of thought going into creating the story. However, it's not satisfying because I don't get to fight the god of destruction. Okay, everyone keeps, and there are people who love this game. I understand that, but can you imagine how much fun you would have if you got to fight the God of Destruction? If maybe you had in this game, there was something different in it, like the genocides that Rose does actually have some type of consequence, and maybe there's a twist. You know, there could be so much you could do with that idea. But the point that you don't get any satisfaction, because the original quest for the main character Dart was not to destroy the God of Destruction. It was to get revenge for his family that was slain by his mother and the people he knew. He doesn't get any satisfaction even when he meets his father. His father, is mostly possessed by Melbuframa, and he only really, you only see him for a while. Then him and Rose die together in an explosion when the moon explodes. Then they come back as two birds. I'm not even joking. And I'm thinking, okay, this isn't really satisfying for those of us who said a great injustice was done to Claire, and now your spirits get to essentially, not that they go to heaven, but they're still around, and they're watching over everything, and they're two birds flying around, seeing the state of the world. And I think the world is called Indiness or something weird like that. But basically, what I mean to say is that we don't get satisfaction, and what I mean is like this. Narratives often do deliver satisfaction in different ways. If you have a character that wants to get revenge, what happens is that you see something horrible, and you're confronted with the idea, wait, the character is on a mission. The character doesn't get to accomplish that mission. Then you introduce a new villain. Alright, apparently Rose is on her side now. She used to be the black monster, but hey, now the new enemy is the God of Destruction. Can we fight him? Oh no, you have to fight Melbuframa. You see, this is what I mean. Switching things out. This is what makes Legend of the Dragoon a bad story, in my opinion. It's not that good. What are you really doing? You did all that fighting. Okay, for one thing, you yourself don't get to get revenge. So you have no resolution. The God of Destruction wasn't really, you didn't get to destroy him. Rose and Zeke got to destroy him. And basically, when you think about it, okay, this is a cowardly way to storytell, because your character Rose, they portray her to be a hero. Let me tell you something. When you have a character like Rose who is more important than the main character, you have a problem with the story. There's a problem with that story, because this character is more important than the main character. Literally. They're calling, you have Charlie Frama, the sister of this great major character in the story, Melbuframa. Any Wingly that Rose goes around, there's another Wingly called Shirley, and she basically knows who Rose is too, and she knows what she's doing. And she's like, oh, Rose, you're still on your sad journey. You're still on your tragic quest to be basically a horrible person who kills a mass amount of people every 108 years. Because, it's necessary. If I don't do it, the God of Destruction is going to come. And I think this is why Final Fantasy is better. Because this game came out around the time Final Fantasy was really big. Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8. Eventually Final Fantasy 9 would come out, and all of those games are better than this in regard to storyline, resolution. There are certain things that are never resolved. When you give a character a quest and they never finish that quest, for example, the quest of Legend of the Dragoons, when you start out your Dart, the quest is find the black monster, get your revenge. And you have a reason to get revenge. You have a reason to get justice. And people say, it's revenge. And that's going to be another thing. that's insulting in the story. Rose is going to talk to Dart when Dart is talking about, I try to get revenge against the black monster. Rose is going to say, well, revenge is a type of insanity, and it's not good to, you have to harness your might as a warrior, and all this talking. I'm thinking, wow, the unmitigated gall to say this when you know the things, when she knows the things she's done, and it's the things that Rose has done are not frowned upon. In the game, they're praised. They're praised. I had another problem with a character named Beatrix in Final Fantasy IX and how they treated her. As sort of, because Beatrix is another character who killed a lot of people, but she's a woman, she's pretty, and I don't know what these developers were thinking. That's why I didn't like the game. I don't like Final Fantasy IX for the same reason, but you see, it was less of a problem in Final Fantasy IX. But in Final Fantasy, in Legend of the Dragoon, it is the major problem. In Legend of the Dragoon, it is the major problem of this game. Excuse me, it really is. It is really terrible when you play a game that you're the main character, but you're less important than a secondary character called Rose, and she gets to be the hero. You're not the hero. You didn't destroy the god of destruction. Rose did. The same one who killed your mother. You're not even the hero. Dart is not even the hero. I wonder why people don't... When people talk about this game, there are some people who do give some criticism regarding the story, but it's not many people, because a lot of people had good memories about it because they played it when they were kids. Okay? When they were like 11, 10, 9, whatever, or even younger than that in some cases. And so, Rose is she's a fan favorite. People really liked her, and I did too when I was younger. But when I got to the fourth disc of the game, I started to ask myself why I was playing, and I was young then. And I was proud of myself as a young 10 or 11-year-old for basically winning this hard game, playing through this hard game. It was a lot of grinding. You have to do a lot of battles just to get your character strong, and learning the systems of the game can be very difficult. But basically, one moment, let me see if the music is still playing. Is it? Okay, it's still playing. I have looped music. Good. But anyhow, I remember I got to maybe the third or fourth disc, and I was just asking myself, I was saying, this is fun. I like them going to so many places. I like the dialogue. I like the characters for the most part. But I even liked Rose as a character, but at the same time, I started to think, I'm not really feeling satisfied through my playthrough. And as I see Rose talking to all different types of people, like Charlie Frama, and all of this, and I'm thinking, wow, Rose seems to be the hero of this game. And I started to realize Rose is being presented as the hero. Dart is always presented as the guy who's, okay, he forgave Rose. Good for you, Dart. Good for you. Oh, Heschel, he's not trying to get revenge against Rose for slaying his daughter in cold blood. Good for you, Heschel. Good for you. Good for you, Dart. You're not seeking revenge against Rose for slaying your mother and everyone you knew in Neet. Good for you. You forgave her. Now, normally, I would say, and let me tell you, I'm a Christian. I believe in forgiveness. However, at the same time, let me put it this way, even me, I would say this doesn't make a good story. Not only that, even if you forgive a person, forgiveness is something that has consequence and weight. You don't just say, oh, it's necessary that you did this, or... Because if you do something legitimately evil like this, is this something you accept? You have to do evil to prevent something else evil from coming into being? That's crazy. That's a weird type of logic. And Rose never gets any real pushback from any of the characters. Dart, in other words, she tells Dart that she's the black monster at one point in time, but let me just put it this way. And these are the Dragoon forms, of course. It's very powerful, and Rose essentially was just using her Dragoon form to commit all types of evil and destruction. Now you have to remember that in the game, the Dragoon form was used early on, before the events of the game. The Dragoon form was used to fight against the Winglies who had enslaved the humans. The humans wanted to be free. So they started to take the souls of dragons and use them. And become dragoons. So the fact that Rose is using this power that she once used to fight for justice, for killing, mass killing, under the orders of Charlie Frama, who I believe is an evil character. I don't care what anyone says. Because she, in all of the Winglies, is like, Rose, you're doing a good job. You're saving the world. And I'm thinking, whereas the humans don't think so. I mean, she has dark powers and energies because she used the powers of the Dark Dragon. Let me put it this way. I can't respect her as a character, and I can't even respect Dart, because I'm thinking, you have nothing real, you don't have anything real to say about the fact that this woman, because Claire's just an afterthought. Okay, Claire, the fact that she went to Neet and, killed Dart's mother, killed another character's daughter, we just don't care about that, right? She's doing what's necessary. She's saving the world by. They literally use that language. Charlie, and I know that seems like a boy's name, but she is that's a she. Charlie Frama, the Wingly, brother of Melba Frama, sister of Melba Frama. Now she literally says Rose is saving the world. I thought, and there came a time, and keep in mind, I'm a young child at this point, and I believe that children, in many cases, often see things adults do not see, or understand things in a very innocent way. Most children do. And for me, seeing this, something troubled my spirit. And I thought, this was a really fun game. I'm glad I got this far, but I don't really want to play through the rest of it. And I got far. I got to the City of the Dead, Mayfield or whatever. Basically, I was at the very end of the game. And I saw everything, and I just did not feel the will to continue. I thought, why? I don't feel satisfied. So what I did, I watched the rest of the game. Because I got to the point where I'm talking to some dog named Ruff or whatever, and there's a Wingly over there and all of this stuff. I got very far in the game. I got so far into the game, but I never finished it myself, so I watched someone else play to the end. I said, this game was massive. It had a massive story, but most of that story was used to justify Rose committing mass murder at least 107 times. And literally engaging in infanticide because, it's necessary. We can't have the God of Destruction come to being. Why not? Let's be brave. Let's not go. How about she not do that? How about she not commit literal genocide and go on killing sprees? How about not listening to people who tell you to do that because maybe you should let things happen and basically be a person with standards and morality. Basically, this is a character without morality, without even the most basic. You can say it's a system of morality that she has. She has sort of moral standards, but she doesn't care about committing genocide. To me, that there's a problem there, and she should have received other characters in the storyline who were saying, "Wait, you think this is right?" Because Rose never really. You can say she repented, but she didn't repent. Because until the end, she believed that what she was doing was right. At no time did Rose say, I wish I didn't do this. No character saying, hey, because the game presents it as necessary. And I'm thinking, we don't even get to fight the God of Destruction in a real gameplay battle. We don't get to do it. Because Rose and Zeke do it. I saw the ending, and I'm thinking, why can't we do that? And the fact that Rose, her spirit gets to live happily forever after with Zieg, is not a good ending, because she's saying, okay, what about Claire, the wife that Zieg had, who is the mother of Dart? I mean, how these games handle the afterlife, so to speak, is pretty crazy. How a lot of games handle that is crazy, but it just does not feel right. I didn't like it. It didn't feel satisfying. It seems like Rose as a character is a character they use to glorify genocide, in a sense, and this was sort of their excuse to say it's necessary, and in a sense, to be edgy. Let's be edgy, right? And, I mean, it's something that many Japanese video games and anime do well, which is more ambiguity. However, in this case, there's no satisfaction, and it drags on for so long. If this was a shorter game, maybe I would have enjoyed it just a little bit more. But the story was too long, and you think, okay, what was the point in fighting? I thought I was fighting to destroy the Black Monster, to get revenge against the Black Monster, and then this guy just, oh, vengeance is bad, Dart. Don't do vengeance. Or, hey, Dart, you're wise for not trying to avenge your mother and everybody else you knew. But then you have Charlie Frama telling Rose, oh, you saved the world 107 times, Rose. You're so oh, it's your tragic quest. It's your sad journey. This stuff legitimately made me sick, and I'm sure that I am not the only one. I like the game just as much as any other Legend of the Dragoon fan that goes around and says, oh, this was a great game. This was up there with Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and I wish they had a sequel. Let me say this, I know why they did not have a sequel. This game was too long. They did a 4-disc set trying to be like Final Fantasy 8, trying to be like Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 7 had 3 discs, and it was really long. This game had 4 discs, and the story became very unsatisfying, because I'm thinking, we're traveling so many different places. We're going to shops, we're using magic, we have a whole big roster of characters, okay, but the characters don't, I mean, the main character does not get satisfaction. I mean, they have personal battles at the end of the game and little personal trials at the end of the game, but it's stupid. And I think someone tries to, I think one of Rose's trials is that, and I have to check this, I have to double check this, you have a wingly that gives each character a trial. And I think he asks Rose that, oh, do you feel regret? And she says, no, or something like that. I'm thinking, how's this satisfying? How is this satisfying? We started the game, playing the game, with the intention, because they give us a mission, right? They give us a quest. That's how an RPG starts. You have to play a role. Now we're playing a fundamentally different role. What I mean to say is this. They say, you have quotes like this. You say, oh, you're Rose, are you? This is from Shirley, another wingly who knows exactly what Rose has been doing for 11,000 years. Oh, you've been on your sad journey since then. You've been on your sad journey. You've been killing off these people. You're sad. I'm sure the people who were dying were sad too. Far sadder than the person who has a dragoon spirit, a dragon spirit, and is just literally turning into a dragoon and just wrecking towns, villages, committing infanticide, all types of evil things. Destroying whole ships on the water. Okay, it's terrible. It really is. I see the end of your agonizing journey. It's agonizing for the people. Let me tell you, it's insulting to read this stuff. And I might as well say it, because some of you probably have thought the same thing. In Japan, the World War II complex is what I call it. The World War II mental. If some of you don't know, Japan, the Japanese nation committed a great deal of atrocities during World War II, and in Japan, those war criminals were protected by the state, and in many cases even honored, even in places like Yasukuni Shrine. So many of these people committed genocide in places like China, in places like Korea, and many other places. As far as I know, even Burma. But you see, the Japanese people who did that were for the most part not held accountable. Okay? These were very evil things. So in Japan, this is known. And so I think, personally, and this is just me sharing my opinion, I think there are people, and listen, the history class they receive is different than any other country, because they, in their school system, do not teach that their military was largely wrong. I mean, there are people like the anime creator Miyazaki, who, you know, they received a lot of criticism in Japan for speaking out against the Japanese military history and what happened during World War II. But listen, many of these people have been taught very good things about, you know, the Japanese military participation in World War II as an Axis power allied to Nazi Germany. Okay? So you have to keep in mind, the people who make this game, they're Japanese. So they come from this culture where, in a sense, you could say that some people do believe that the war crimes that happened in Japanese history during World War II were all necessary for the survival of the Japanese nation. And they don't really largely get taught that it was a negative thing. So this is a different mindset. It's a lot different from how many people around the world would think. At least, you know, I mean, not to say that there are not people who think like that, but I would just have to say, I think in Japan, it's a bit more, I don't know, it's a bit more noticeable. And especially in art. Now, I would have to say, and that attack is just really weird because it seems like, actually, let me look at this attack. She's just a really evil character. Even her attacks are really evil, which is fine to have an evil character, but at the same time, there should be some consequences. And you see, for her, death was a release. She wanted to die because she thought, oh, this is a sad journey. One day she'll be able to end it. She'll be able to die a peace, die a death worthy of a hero. She doesn't deserve that. She doesn't deserve that. She deserves a worse end than that, than to die with her lover Zeke, who was her former fiance. Okay? Now the ghosts are attacking Rose. Because Rose, when she was basically trying to destroy the Moonchild, kill the Moonchild, she comes on the ship and literally destroys it, sinks it, and commits all types of atrocities here. The game is about Rose! The game is not about your main character, Dart. You see this person who I have the arrow cursor on, Dart? It's not about him. It's about Rose. It's totally about Rose. This game is about her. It's about her. It's not about anyone else. It's all about her. I'm telling you. Because she's the focal point of the game. And you see, let me just say this. This is how this game should have went. There should have been some type of satisfying conclusion to Dart trying to seek vengeance against the Black Monster. It's just the truth. He's seeking vengeance against the Black Monster. Okay? And she basically, when Dart talks about the Black Monster, she's dismissed. She's like, stop it! She's like, because she doesn't want to hear about the atrocities she committed. That's because she did this. She's like, what was I thinking? And you see, she knows what she did was evil. But she wants to pretend I mean, and it's not even pretentious because everyone's saying what you did was necessary. You know, and Dart's like, here's the conclusion that it comes to with this whole idea of vengeance. Basically, Dart's, oh, the black monster's dead now. We only have a companion who's on the same road. And I'm thinking, there was no consequence, no admonition, no judgment. It's like it's a judgment-free zone. And I'm like, wait, that's not satisfying. So this game, this storyline, it troubled my spirit. It troubled my spirit. It's very hard to say that about a video game, but this did. It troubled my spirit. As a young boy, it troubled my spirit. It was something wrong about this. I said, wait, this is actually terrible. This is actually horrible because we don't feel satisfied by this. This isn't satisfying. Rose was the focal point of the game from an antagonistic standpoint. And once you lost that focal point, when you get into Disc 3, Disc 2, Disc 4, you're saying, okay, this game had a good premise. You're looking for revenge. Now the game's no longer about revenge. Now the game is, we have to stop the God of Destruction, but it's not even that. Because instead of stopping the God of Destruction, it's about stopping the God of Destruction come to be. And the God of Destruction never really reaches full power and full maturity because Rose and Zeke just fly into the thing and they use I'm not sure what weapon they use to destroy it, but basically the moon blows up, okay? The moon blows up. So that's it. You don't get to fight all of these games. You get to fight, Final Fantasy X, you get to fight Sin. And Final Fantasy 7, you get to fight Sephiroth. In Legend of the Dragoon, you do not get to legitimately fight the God of Destruction, because the whole thing is Rose saved the world by preventing the coming of the God of Destruction. I'm thinking, this is so terrible. Now let me fight the God of Destruction. What Rose was doing was a coward's action. You're killing innocent people for the sake of preventing more innocent people dying, and it's just, you see, there's a moral problem with that, and there's a cowardice with that, because you would say, okay, why don't you just fight the God of Destruction? Let the God of Destruction reach full power, and you just fight him. That would be a better story. In other words, let's make the story different. In other words, have all the characters get real strong. The reason they did not do that was because they wanted to emphasize this idea of this beautiful woman, Rose, who, she's dark, she's mysterious, but she's also committing genocide. And the whole idea they wanted to promote was, well, she did this, but it was necessary. She saved the world. She's a good person, and we're going to show you why she's a good person. Now, I know that sounds strange, but that's exactly what happened in this game. That is essentially the story. The game is not about Dart. The secret of this game is, it's not a secret. If you play the game and really pay attention, you realize it's not about him. It's about the blue woman. It's about Rose. That's who it's about. It's not about your main character that you start off with, who's on his personal quest. He's a young man. He's starting out as a warrior. And it's good. You're meeting all these different characters. It's really exciting. You meet Rose, but then you realize, wait, this game is going to excuse everything that Rose did. Now, let me tell you how bad this is. And listen, if you think the English is bad, no, they told us everything they needed to tell us. That's why I say the dialogue is not bad. They conveyed everything they needed to. And I would say they conveyed it in relatively good English. So here's what I think. I don't think that the Japanese script was much better, because the fact is, the story premise, the narrative is actually bad. So we're going to go right here. We're going to go down to what Charlie Froma says. Okay. Now, basically, Zig was the fiance of Rose. Rose kills Zig's wife, Claire during her assault on Neet. Dart, that's Dart's mother. Okay, you see how there should be conflicts in this story. There should be serious feelings and emotions and passions. And because that's unresolved, you as a player, you as a reader who's reading this, you have to feel this. Because basically there's no point in it. You're thinking, now listen to this. This is Charlie Frama. She's a friend of Rose. She's the sister of Melbu Frama, I guess the main antagonist of the game. And the truth is, just like in Final Fantasy IX, where you defeat Kuja, once you defeat Kuja, you have the real antagonist, who is Necron. And he's like this, you could call him a lot like the God of Destruction. You never get to fight the God of Destruction. You never do. You never do. This is why this game is Legend of the Dragoon. The story is not, it is fundamentally flawed in that your antagonist, the one who should be the real antagonist, you can't even fight because you have to prevent the gods of destruction, right? So listen, this type of dialogue makes me sick. It really does. But it's rendered exactly as it is. Because let me tell you, if you think the English is bad, the Japanese is bad too, because they're saying the same thing. Rosie, honey, you've been doing really great. Since the soul of the Virage embryo, the God of Destruction, was released, you have saved the world, let me see, at least 107 times. She's been saving the world by going into villages, doing stuff like this. Killing innocent people. Using her powers to destroy whole ships and commit atrocities and genocides. This is what she's been doing. Okay, and Charlie says, oh, you've been saving the world. So, let me show you how horrible this is. Okay. Okay. Now, this is a Wingly who's going to give them trials. Okay, and he's going to give Rose a trial. So, here's what he will do. So, the trial of Savan is just going to be a question. So, here's what Savan saith. I would often think about it, the thing we are doing, namely Charlie creating the signet spear to seal the moon that never sets. And Rose continuously killing the Moonchild. So he's saying we are doing. So basically Rose is part of this whole Wingly operation, and she's doing all the dirty work. Okay, this evil work of just committing genocides to stop the God of Destruction. Because everyone's afraid of the God of Destruction. I'm thinking, we're gamers, we're players. Let's fight the God of Destruction with the skills. You grind so much this game. Can you imagine grinding and getting to fight the God of Destruction the last part of the game? This is why this game, I don't have any respect for it. I have respect for it in that when I played it when I was a young boy, I enjoyed it. But, I mean, until I got to the end and I realized this isn't going anywhere. I'm never going to be able to fight the God of Destruction. And lo and behold, you never really do. Okay. So, what he's saying is continuously killing the Moonchild. I prepared for the coming evil day with a new signet, Moot, and a psychedelic bomb, and waited for this moment. The road laid by the creator Soa was supposed to be absolute, but evolution was stopped by us Winglies. Whether our deeds were the right thing and will continue forever. So Rose, however, emphasizes that we are living beings and we should just live in the present. And this makes her pass her trial without answering another question. I thought it had to do with him asking something about if she had any regrets or something. But basically, she doesn't have any regrets. She never regrets it. She's praised for her atrocities, for her evil acts. She is the main character. You get to play as her maybe once in the game, but listen, here's what they should have did in this game if they wanted to put so much emphasis on Rose. Just don't let us play as this man here. Dart, we shouldn't even be playing as him. He's not the main character. He isn't. Rose is the main character. That's who the main character is. So, let me tell you, I have to say, it cost me a lot of stress, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna sort of use an AI story generator from Perchance, and I did that, and I decided to alter a few things in the story and make something more interesting. And I just decided to put that into the AI, and the AI gave me a very good story. And it had consequences. And, I mean, Dart, you know, he had more emotions about the fact that Rose was the black monster. And I even had something in that AI generated story where I put a prompt in where, you know, and it's just a little thing that I read. But, you know, reading that was better narrative than I got from this game. Okay, in the narrative, when Zeke finally is released from the control of Melba Frama, he doesn't really readily sort of, you know, join Rose in battle. You know, he's like, you know, wait. You know, the last memories I have before Melbu Frama possessed me from the dragon spirit, I mean, let's put it in the hypothetical. The last memory he has before he was possessed by Melbu Frama, who was in the dragon spirit, was that he's trying to protect his home and his wife and who he knows and his son in Neet Village from Rose. He knows who she is, and he should have something to say when he sees her the next time. So the fact that he has nothing to say, like, hey, you know, he doesn't know the plan about Charlie Frama. That's never explained to him. It's just, oh, let's get in the action. I'm with Rose now. We're going to fight. We're going to do what we need to do to prevent the coming of the God of Destruction. I'm thinking, let the God of Destruction come, because I no longer care. I no longer care about the sort of moral ambiguity now. It went too far. The moral ambiguity went too far. It really did. The moral ambiguity went far. It just went too far. It's not fun anymore. And that was the problem I had when I was playing Legend of Dragoon. It was just not fun. I'm thinking, wow, this moral ambiguity means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It was kind of interesting. You had these moral dilemmas, but now it doesn't mean anything. I don't care about the dilemmas. I don't care about, oh, is this good? Is this bad? Is this evil? I don't care anymore, because what the game has proven to me is that they do not care about being serious. It's just a big joke. It's just a big joke, and it's not a joke. They treat it as though it's not a joke. But, you know, your mother, your village, none of that matters anymore, because Rose is on our side now. She's one of the competitors. She's on our journey. And I'm thinking, wait, there has to be some type of consequence, some type of harsh words, strong feeling, strong emotion. That's how forgiveness works. In other words, what I mean to say, even if you forgive someone, that doesn't take away the emotion that you have. And they didn't have any of those passions. Passion means suffering in Latin. And there was none of that. There's no passion behind it. There's no, well, Rose she's on her journey. She did what was necessary. And I'm thinking, really, was that necessary? If that's necessary, I no longer care about the game world, because the game world is a joke. The game world really is a joke. So the story, for me, it took some turns that I could not even cognize in my mind. I was a young boy at the time, and there were a lot of kids. This game was rated teen. They were 10, 11, 12. They were playing this game. They were seeing this weird situation where you have a person who is essentially in the wrong, but they're receiving praise. They're receiving praise. Okay. They're receiving praise. And you see, all of these ghosts that want vengeance on Rose, they want it on Rose because the fact is, this woman is horrible in terms of what she kept doing. It's necessary for me to do this to prevent the coming of the God of Destruction. I'm thinking, stop being a coward. Why can't you train? Why can't you get stronger and say, if the God of Destruction comes, I'm not gonna listen to Charlie Frama. I'm gonna prepare to fight. I'm not going to engage in such. You see, this is the problem with the story. And the fact that you have some gamers, they're not asking questions about how the story could be better. They're saying, this is a great story, and Rose is justified because it's necessary, and it was right for her to do what she did. That's why she's a great character. I'm thinking, no, she isn't. No, that's not true. I mean, what type of person thinks that? I don't understand it. It's wild. Okay, I mean, for them, I think it was all about having a hot, genocidal woman, you know, an evil character, but I'm thinking, she's the main character. She is the main character. If they made the game based on Rose, that'd be more interesting. Of course, you would never be able to release it, during this time at least, because I think people would say, wow, this is pretty dark. So you need Dart, who's not even a very, you know, if you compare Dart to Rose in terms of just as a character, Dart is not interesting. He's so uninteresting, he can't even avenge his own mother right. He can't avenge his friends and family right. He can't even do that. Dart can't even do that right. So how much respect do we have for Dart as a player? As a person reading a narrative, and I'm thinking, okay, we as a player sort of see through the eyes of the main character. Dart is a bad son. He's a bad hero. This is not really good for you know, how can we respect him? He can't even avenge his own mother. How can we respect Heschel? He can't even avenge his own daughter. There's no justice. And that's the problem. It's like, okay, if the characters have to fight the God of Destruction, let them fight the God of Destruction. Let them perfect their powers to the point where they can do that. But instead of letting the characters shine in that way, they don't get to do that. It's really crazy. But anyhow, viewers, I just want to talk about this because, to be honest, I had to, and this, I tell you, and you saw what happened, didn't you? I mean, some of these animations are wacky, but I'm telling you, they were obsessed. Whoever made this game, they had an obsession with this character, Rose. Look at this Demon Skate spell that you can use as a Dragoon. Now see where the dark droplets come out of her body. I mean, you see what that is, don't you? I mean, it looks like it's coming from between her legs, and her body splits apart. I mean, that is what it is. But it's just the fact, compiling off this weirdness together. I just think they just should have made Rose the main character, because I can't respect the main character. I can't respect them. I can't. You're not really even. I mean, he's not even a man, in my opinion. I'm just thinking, wow, you're going on this great quest for vengeance, and you're not even. I mean, what are you doing? Because basically, as a character, it makes him weak. It means, okay, your first quest, you failed. Okay, you had the opportunity to get revenge against Rose, you didn't do that. So, you know, at this point, after, you know, basically, let me put it this way. The role Dart played in the game was in the beginning. And after that, let me put it this way. You meet a few other characters, and essentially everything becomes about Rose. Charlie Fromm is saying Rose is the hero. Rose is being told, oh, well, you're just an ally. You're on the same road we were. Everybody is essentially accepting Rose as being a necessary evil. Unnecessary evil in the game, and I'm thinking, you're not. I mean, Dart basically he's not even a character who means anything. Zeke and Rose, and even Zeke has no real presence in the game, because it's Melbu Frama controlling Zeke's body the whole time, pretending to be Emperor Diaz, who led the humans. Excuse me, but for the most part, there's just that lingering feeling of dissatisfaction. Of, why did I waste all this time going through 4 discs? And it could be that they rushed the story. I think that could be a possibility, but I think more than that, I think when you put 4 discs in the game, you have plenty of time to do a good story. Here's what I think happened. They wanted to emphasize this Rose as being the female character, beautiful, dark-haired woman, who is essentially, let me just put it this way, evil. Essentially, Rose is sort of a character you can't really justify. But throughout the whole game, they're trying to justify her. Especially in the later part of the game. They're trying to justify her. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to justify her. That's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to justify her. The whole time, throughout the later part of the game, they're trying to justify you and get you comfortable with the idea that Rose is actually not a villain. She's a good person. And I'm thinking, what? That's ridiculous. I mean, maybe it's not ridiculous to you, but to me it's ridiculous. And I don't appreciate it anymore. When I was young, I noticed the further I get into the game, and let me tell you, disc 1, disc 2, I was having a good time. It was fine. I really enjoyed this game, but I kept noticing, because at that time you think, okay, when Dart finds out that Rose is a black monster, there's going to be some sense of justice. And all this little sparring session that they have. And of course that's the cradle, because I think the Moonchild was a baby or something. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This is what I mean. I don't have a problem with art that expresses these types of ideas like infanticide, genocide, and all of these types of ideas, but if you're going to do it, all of us have the right to say, wait, this story isn't even that good. You put these big, serious ideas in the story, but you don't even know how to handle them. I mean, they don't even know how to handle the idea of a man, because you see, Dart's story should be more impactful, because Dart's thrust of the story is his search for revenge. And that search for that quest for revenge has to be settled in a more significant and respectful way. There has to be respect for the how should it be said? There has to be respect for the grief of Squall and the grief of Heschel. And that was not in the game. There was no respect for that. And that is what's so bad about it. It's really not a good way to create a story. It's not a good way to create one. And so, there's this idea in the game. Let me put it this way. The whole game is about preventing the God of Destruction. But it's not about it's not about fighting the God of Destruction, saying, okay, let's fight the God of Destruction. Let's stop trying to prevent the God of Destruction. Just fight the God of Destruction, but you see, off that prevention aspect of the game comes from the fact that they want to push Rose so much. Okay, Rose, right here, she's the main character, not Dart. All of these other characters, they're insignificant. Okay, Shauna has a bit more significance, but in a certain part of the game, they take her out of your party. So for the most part, Disc 3, Disc 4, later part of Disc 2 even, Rose is essentially the main character. For a while, Dart really means something. Like maybe, especially in Disc 1, but after Disc 1, when you get to Disc 2, I mean, it's most, it's not, it starts to not be about him, and that's the problem. Okay? There were good parts even in Disc 2, but when you get to Disc 3 and 4, when you get to near the end of the game, that's when you start to realize, and since, the spirits are put at rest, they see Shauna, who's the Moonchild, they can kind of, go, they're kind of put at rest now. I mean, they don't have to really, be worried about it, because they want to protect the princess. And so Shauna, just like the princess, is, I guess, the Moonchild or something like that. But you see, it's just, there's a lot of emotions involved with the concept of revenge, of justice in general, because revenge and justice are the same thing. People may say, oh, there's a difference between revenge and justice. No, there isn't. They're the same thing. I mean, justice is just another word for revenge. And so when you have a game that doesn't handle, and people say, well, there's character development because she saved Dart. And I'm thinking, she still thinks that she did a good thing when she was committing genocides in all of those villages and towns and places. She's not a character that, let me put it this way. You can have a character that you cannot really redeem. And she did not even try to repent for any of the things she did. She thinks she did everything right. She said, I was just following Charlie Frommer's instructions. She doesn't even need to say that because she's never judged. No one ever tries to confront her over and say, hey, this is just wrong what you did. None of the characters have the guts to say it. That's why I say Rose is the main character. She's the most exciting character. She is the main character. She's the main character. Dart is not the main character. He really isn't. And so, moments like this were pretty good. I mean, when you get to see the tenderness of Rose, but you can't romance Rose. Even though, when you think about it, let me put it this way. If Dart and Rose had a romance in the game, it would make sense because the truth is, Zig already got married. So how is Zig and Rose's spirit together when the son he had was not by Rose? It was by Claire. And you don't see the spirit of Claire at the end of the game. So it's very disingenuous to those of us who said, wait, this is the woman that killed your wife, everyone you knew in the village. This is the woman who drove your son into grief. He sought revenge against the black monster, against Rose, who he did not know was Rose, because he never met Rose before, but he wanted revenge. He thought this had to be a man. This was a he. The black monster was a he, but, let me tell you, and of course this is the Dragon campaign, the footage from that, and it's telling you about the history. There's so much lore in this game, but it doesn't come to much. It's almost as though it's just this great and amazing story, but what's the point? What's the point of all of this, this lore? And because this game would be more exciting, but instead they had to do this moral ambiguity stuff, where essentially, there's this idea of, wait, instead of having this type of game, we have to have something like, basically Rose going on a quest to commit mass basically genocide every 108 years. Yeah, that's more exciting than what you're seeing now. You could literally start your game right at the Dragon campaign and not have any of that history with Dart, because they didn't care about Dart. They didn't even give Dart the satisfaction of actually getting revenge. They didn't even give Dart that satisfaction. So Zig is more of an interesting character than Dart. Rose is a more interesting character than Dart. And so, yeah, this is when Zig gets petrified, and this is just the whole campaign and stuff, and it's just, they make Rose out to be very, you should be sympathetic to Rose. I'm not sympathetic to Rose. I mean, because you can't be sympathetic. I mean, you can be, and a lot of people were convinced to be, but I'm thinking, is this a good story? Is this actually a good story? Is this really a good story that we can say, are we really satisfied with the fact that, the cutscene was pretty exciting, and I think this is the only cutscene that is this. I mean, I think there's a cutscene at the end of the game that's pretty amazing too, but it's just the fact that, why are we not playing this game? Why do we have to have the weird morality thing where it's like, oh yeah, you have to forgive Rose because she's doing it because it's necessary. She has to do it because it's necessary. And I'm thinking, why? Is this even a part of the game? It's so, I mean, it's so much wasted potential. Also, they can have this, just really, this genocidal woman character. This is when she was, trying to save Zeke, but it's just, and they try to make it seem like emotional. Oh, she has memories, and this is what makes her tragic, but she also kills like a whole village, like 108 years. It's hard for me to feel anything for her. I'm sorry. I know you're trying to make me feel something for her, but it's hard for me to do it. It's hard for me to do it. And she's kind of realized, oh, I see Zeke and Dart, but Zeke is, Dart, let me say it this way. It could be that if they decide to really do a romance between Dart and Rose, that would have been better. I could think of so many ways this story could be better. And that is another thing that I do not like about Legend of the Dragoon. Legend of the Dragoon has, in my opinion, it's just not a satisfying story. It's not a particularly good story. It's something that, that it was good maybe. Let me put it this way. I like this one and I like this too. And eventually, at some point, as I was playing through Disc 3, I just realized, wow, okay, Rose is the main character. Rose is. And I kind of realized, because I said, this is going to build up. And I didn't expect praise from another character for Rose's actions as the Black Monster, because eventually you know Rose is the Black Monster. You can guess. It's pretty predictable. Okay. At some point. But anyhow, viewers, this was fun to talk about for a while, but I have to say, it was exciting to do this video, but it made me angry a little bit. I just say it. It made me angry at the same time. So, viewers, I would like to say, may you be blessed, and farewell, viewers. Alright. One moment here.